My next guest is a Delawarean and an unusual man with an unusual approach to corporate management. His approach is none at all. He has a corporation called Gore and Associates Incorporated that has no officers, no titles, no structure. Seems to be organized chaos, and yet it has become a very creative place where such materials as Gore-Tex have become instrumental in our world and our society. Part of our space program, part of sports, outerwear, ski clothing, and many, many other things. He left the DuPont company in 1957 to start his new company, and it has grown and now has over 4,000 people working for the company worldwide. And it's a pleasure and honor to welcome this Delawarean to Focus Delaware, Bill Gore. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Bill, last time I tried to reach you, you were inaccessible. I think you were backpacking somewhere in Wyoming. Is that correct?
That's correct. No telephones, no way to get in touch.
Mm-hmm. Quite a far away from the corporate structure that you had. Do you enjoy those getaways?
Oh, yes, indeed. Of course, there was a family structure in this expedition because we had two of our children and I guess about 8 or 10 of our grandchildren on this expedition.
You're a regular backpacker as well as being a skier and a tennis player, I understand?
Yes, yes. My wife and I have spent well over 2 years since we've been married backpacking in various wilderness areas, 2 and 3 weeks at a time.
I see. Well, your first product, I understand, was producing Teflon insulated conductors when you broke away from DuPont in 1957 with this new corporation that started in your basement.
Yes.
About 1969, however, though, your son Robert discovered that by taking this product, Teflon, a DuPont product, and pulling it apart as rapidly as possible, I understand that it resulted in a highly porous but strong material with a multiplicity of industrial uses called Gore-Tex. Tell me about its characteristics, its attributes, this Gore-Tex.
Well, the PTFE, which is the chemical abbreviation name for polytetrafluoroethylene,
better known as Teflon.
Better known as Teflon, is a unique material of its own as a polymer. In the expanded form, it adds additional characteristics that are particularly useful and in a great variety of different areas. The porosity makes it a more effective electronic insulation, and signals move through interconnections at very, very close to 90% the velocity of light, which speeds up computers. In the body, when it's implanted as an artificial artery or vein or heart valve, the natural tissue of the body quickly invades the 85% open pore space and converts it 85% into your own tissue. There's no rejection, therefore, when these kinds of organs are implanted in the human body. And then in the field of filtration, it is an extremely effective filter, taking out essentially all solid particles from smoke from burning coal, or if you like, smoke from a cigarette. Of course, it doesn't make a very good cigarette filter because there's nothing comes out of the cigarette but hot air.
Maybe we should employ it then.
No fun to smoke hot air.
I see.
And there's quite a variety of other uses. It's made into a very strong abrasion-resistant fiber of the kind that's used in the outer layer of the astronauts' spacesuits. And then there are a whole line of chemical gaskets and seals that are made from this material.
So the best-known uses that I know of, in addition to being the outer layer of the NASA spacesuit, is in sportswear, such as ski wear and tents, I understand. You're a skier and a camper. What are the uses now that you're using this Gore-Tex in that field?
Well, in its film form, this porous membrane has the very unique property that water won't go through it. It's waterproof. But on the other hand, it's so porous that air and perspiration can pass out through it. When we laminate this membrane to an ordinary fabric, such as nylon or Dacron, it forms a protective garment that it prevents you from getting wet in the rain or wherever, but allows you to breathe for the perspiration to evaporate out. So it's comfortable and waterproof.
And so we're seeing its byproducts in sportswear and in gear throughout the world now.
Yes, indeed.
You have an interesting structure. I alluded to it before, your corporate philosophy. There are no officers, no titles. Nobody tells anyone what to do. If a new worker comes in, I'd read an article about he was sort of left to meander to decide what he wanted to do for himself. It sounds like organized chaos and anarchy to me, but you call it your lattice framework. Could you please explain how that works?
Well, there is, in spite of the fact that we have no authoritarian titles, we have no bosses, we do have a very complex structure of leadership, and leaders emerge in a team because of their particular skill or knowledge or whatever. And then we have another system we call the sponsorship system, which is kind of a joint friendship concern. And a sponsor is an associate's positive advocate, in the sense that whenever you do something good, why, your sponsor sees to it that you are recognized for what you have done. And also the sponsor is a kind of a mentor, particularly for beginning associates, to help get them started, to show them the ropes, to teach them how to get things done, to introduce them, and to teach them something about the philosophies and culture that we work with.
Well, do you find this, therefore, provides a more conducive atmosphere for the development of new ideas, innovative ideas?
Yes, well, new ideas and innovations come from freedom. When human beings have the freedom to try new things, to experiment, they discover many new things. Human beings are naturally and inherently curious and inventive and creative and imaginative. And when they're given the freedom to utilize this, strange things come from it. It is true, however, that freedom has to be restrained to some degree by certain responsibilities and certain requirements that naturally arise when teams of people have to work together, are working together. But we do our best to try and maximize freedom. Out of it comes the expectation and the actuality that we make many mistakes, but in addition to making mistakes, we also innovate, make new inventions, and find more productive ways of doing things.
Now, you described your one goal is to make money and have fun doing it.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting philosophy.
Yes, well, of course, any business enterprise must earn money in order to pay their bills, buy the raw materials, build their buildings, buy the machinery, build the machinery they need to produce the goods that they produce. And so it's obvious that you have to earn money. But we have found that it's very important that everyone enjoy what they're doing in earning the money. And there are many aspects to enjoying it. It's obvious that the sociable relationships, the friendships, the fun of working together on a team are important. But the most fundamental thing is the conviction that what you're doing is important, that it's worthwhile, that you're making important contributions to the success of the enterprise, and you're making worthwhile contributions to the societies where we live and work.
And so the byproduct is you have enthusiastic employees who feel that they're an important part of the whole organization?
We don't have any employees.
Oh, excuse me, associates.
Everyone is an associate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there is quite a difference between an employee and an associate. I asked one of my associates out in Flagstaff, what is the difference? And she replied, well, that's easy. An employee has to do what she's told.
Who decides who gets the salary increases?
Well, this is done through the sponsorship system, and we attempt, make every effort to try and distribute the available income for compensation in proportion to the contribution that we make. And some of the associates make considerably greater contributions than others, and as a consequence are paid considerably more. Mm-hmm. But the decision or the judgment on contribution is made by committees of sponsors. who get together and agree on a relative contribution of the people that they sponsor.
And who owns the corporate stock?
Well, about 95% of the stock is owned by the associates who now work in the enterprise, and including some who have retired from it.
I see. Where do you see Gore & Associates going in the future? What new directions do you see you're headed in?
Well, we have a great many new businesses under development and on the way. One that I'm going to be visiting starting tomorrow is an enterprise to convert seawater to fresh water using Gore-Tex membrane as the membrane through which the salt water is distilled to produce fresh water on the other side of the membrane. We have a number of new medical products coming along in clinical trials. I think one of the very interesting ones is the new anterior cruciate ligament for replacing torn and broken ligaments in the knee. And there's been great success in our clinicals in restoring athletes into active competition.
Well, with all the potential that your products have, I just wish you the best in your future endeavors, and you're a Delawarean that we can all be proud of. Thank you for joining us on Focus Delaware. It's been Bill Gore of Gore & Associates, and when we return, Peggy and I will tell you about next week's show. Stay with us.